When I think of sensitivity training, I'm reminded of the extermination of the Jews in Germany by Hitler. Sensitivity, my eye. They would have us to believe that the Bible is wrong and that we are not to say or do anything that is, in their opinion, offensive. All the while, what they're teaching in these sensitivity classes is offensive to every Bible-believing, God-fearing person. Literally, this country is being brainwashed. Again, beginning with our children. The sad thing about it is what's coming out of denominationalism, the religious world. It's not bad enough that it's in the schools. It's not bad enough it comes out of Hollywood through television and movies. But yet people who go to various religious groups believing they're going to be taught the Bible and what is right and wrong are being misled, being led to believe that homosexuality is nothing more than a choice, just like one might choose a Ford or a Chevy or a Dodge. But you know, God hasn't legislated concerning the kind of cars that we drive, but He has said that sodomy is sin. Many denominational churches now accept homosexuality. Several years ago, the United Methodist Church recommended their members accept homosexuals, and this is a quote, as persons of sacred worth and welcome them into the fellowship of the church. The Evangelical Lutheran Church several years ago, this was in the Netherlands, they issued a report, and these are public, these are not something private, these are not something that I've pulled out of some obscure place. They say that homosexuality should not be a barrier to a person who wishes to become a pastor, that is, a denominational leader. And since this came out, again, several years ago, we've seen mainstream denominations beginning one by one to change their policies and allow this. We heard not so long ago the United Church of Christ come to the forefront, not to be confused with the Church of the New Testament. The United Church of Christ is one of the most liberal groups in the denominational world, but they began several years ago ordaining homosexuals into the ministry. The metropolitan community churches, which is spread across throughout the large cities in this country, they have the philosophy of accepting all people just as they are. If you come to a metropolitan community church in adultery, that's fine. Continue in that. If you come as a drunkard, continue as a drunkard. If you come as a homosexual, continue as a homosexual. Do you not have to scratch your head and say, why are these groups in existence? What is their purpose? Sounds like you're going to a social gathering, a social club, rather than something biblical in nature. But here is the question that I want us to address this morning, in a very simple manner. Everyone here can understand. And this should be the question we ask about any subject. What does the Bible say? You see, my opinion really isn't worth much. It's worth what yours is, not very much. On the day of judgment, God is not going to use our opinion as a standard of judgment. He's going to use His Word, the Bible. Therefore, the question we want to ask is, what does the Bible say regarding homosexuality? Well, let's go back to the very beginning of time. The patriarchal system, this began with Adam and Eve. Patriarch, rule of the father. This will continue up into the days of Moses. Well, we remember two prominent cities in the patriarchal age, Sodom and Gomorrah. Why were they destroyed? They were destroyed because of homosexuality. Well, preacher, how do you know that? Where is that coming from? Well, turn in your Bible with me to the Old Testament, Genesis chapter 19. And let's just read a couple of verses, and this will clear this up. Genesis chapter 19, we're going to read beginning with verse 4 and read through verse 9. If we back up to verse 1, we find that two angels have come to the city of Sodom. As we continue, they've entered into the house of Lot. Nighttime has fallen. Now read with me, beginning with verse 4. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round about, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came unto thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do unto them as it is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now we will deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. And we're going to stop there because of time. Go home this afternoon and read the rest of the chapter. Now you say, well, that didn't say anything about homosexuality. Well, notice, if you will, verse 5. They said, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. It's interesting, as we look under this period of time, the word know is often, and we might even go so far as to say generally used to describe sexual relations. How do we know that? Look at Genesis 4 and verse 1. Adam knew Eve, his wife. What happened? She conceived and bare Cain. Verse 17. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 19 and 20. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come, after Hannah had conceived, and she bare a son, and called his name Samuel. These are just a few examples that we might mention. The term sodomy today comes from Genesis chapter 19. And what those wicked men of Sodom wanted to do was to abuse or violate in a homosexual manner these 2, quote, men. They were not men, they were angels. And they were ready to do the same to Lot had the angels not reached out and pulled him forcibly back into the house. What about the law of Moses? This began, of course, at Mount Sinai and comes up into the time of Christ. In Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 22, very simple language. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is what? Read it. An abomination.